is Michael Murphy. Today we are going to be talking about the social cognitive theory, moral development theory, and the self-concept theory. The learning objective for this lesson is to fully comprehend the social cognitive, moral development, and self-concept theory with 100% accuracy. The first theory that we will be talking about today is the social cognitive theory that was introduced by Albert Bandura. It is also known as the social learning theory, and Bandura himself believed that social learning is due to, in great part, to the influences of observation and modeling the behavior, attitudes, and emotion reaction of others. What we're really going to be focused on today when it comes to the social cognitive theory principles is the fact that people learn by observing others, okay? And there's a famous experiment that Bandura conducted, and it's called the Bobo doll experiment. And it really depicts how a child copies what an adult does by just observing them. I'm going to leave the camera for a second because I'm going to put the actual video on the PowerPoint right here. So just bear with me for 1 second, and I'll be right back with you guys to narrate the actual video. What this video is depicting is a woman beating up the Bobo doll. All right, she's kicking it, she's playing around with it in a violent way. As you see, she keeps kicking it, beating it down. She's punching it right now. And now this is the time where the kid is being observed. And it shows basically the same actions that the woman was doing to the Bobo doll. So in essence, the child himself is copying what the adult is doing. I know this is kind of hard to see, but this is kind of key to the actual theory itself. But the child is continually hitting the Bobo doll with a hammer. Right now, he's acting like he's shooting the Bobo doll. He's constantly hitting the Bobo doll with the hammer, along with having in his other hand the toy gun. And that is it for the video. So the Bobo doll experiment really just shows how children observe, especially adults, on ways to act, and they really model themselves on how adults conduct themselves in a manner. You guys, this is obviously optional for you guys, especially for this class, but I would really love your guys' input within the discussion board by answering some of these questions. Where in society do you see people copying behaviors observed by others? There's obviously many cases throughout periods of history that people copy certain behaviors. And of course, how can teachers use the social cognitive theory to reinforce behaviors in the classroom? If you guys do not mind, please answer those within the discussion. I would love your guys' input, and I'd love to see some of your guys' answers. All right, moving on. All right, now we're going to be talking about the moral development theory. This is founded by Lawrence Kohlberg. He is inspired by the works of Jean Piaget and John Dewey. Kohlberg believed that people progress in their moral reasoning through a series of stages. And these stages are through periods of life, through the periods of life. There is 6 stages to the moral development. There is 3 levels. The first level is pre-conventional. This is really when you are in the ages between 3 and 7 years old. Okay, so you're a child at this time, and the social orientation when it comes to this stage is that the child itself avoids getting in trouble at any cost. Okay, they're very obedient. They fear being punished, maybe even by their parents or even by their teacher. And then stage 2, you're still in the age range between 3 and 7, and basically this stage is defined as what is it for me? So what is it for me? And then the next stage is when you move down to the next level. This is called conventional. In the conventional, this is stage 3, and the social orientation deals with basically what makes you look good, but at the same time gain approval of others. So good girl, so good boy, good girl. Stage 4 deals with you're still in the conventional stage. This is considered law and order. Basically, because that's the rules and because it's the law, okay? And really, I forgot to mention this within the conventional stage. This is where individuals are a little bit more mature. They're in the ages between 8 and 13 years old. So you're kind of in your late elementary school years, going into your middle school years. So they have a better understanding of what laws are, and really, they start to be introduced to civics at that time. So they understand what government is and how government functions. So that kind of coincides with the law and order perspective. All right, moving on to post-conventional. Stage 5, okay? This deals with basically for the common good and the welfare of others, okay? You're in your adult years at this point. You are maybe possibly starting out when you're in late high school, going into college, and then even further. So it's for the common good and the welfare of others. And the last stage, of course, deals with the personal integrity, and no matter there's basically personal integrity. This is the last stage that you hit within the moral development theory. Moving on. Within these stages, okay, individuals can only progress one at a time. Okay, they cannot jump stages, but they just progress one at a time. Kind of goes in line with how old you are. Moral development can be promoted through formal education. Once again, teachers, school plays a huge part on how children develop. Really, those history teachers, those civics teachers, really do promote good citizenship, because that's the content they actually have to present to the kids. So it's important especially education, very, very important for a student's development. However, when it comes to the moral development theory, teachers especially have to be very careful on whether it doesn't conflict with family values. All right, moving on. Discussion question number 2. Once again, this is completely optional for you guys, but this is how I would kind of present it to my students when I would lecture in my class. How can teachers promote moral development in the classroom? All right, last theory, the social concept theory. Social concept theory is defined as how we think of ourselves and how we should think and behave and act out our various life roles. Okay, the self-concept theory, individuals look at and how they view their strengths and weaknesses. Okay, and it's kind of different compared to looking at self-esteem wise, because that's how you evaluate your strengths and weaknesses. The principles of the self-concept theory. Self-concept theory is learned by the individual, okay? They're not born with it. The perception of themselves can be altered by people, by who they hang out with. They could be their friends, they could be a teacher, they could be your parents, or they could be factored by environmental. So that's how self-concept is learned by the individual, through people and environment. The second principle is self-concept is organized. Numerous views of themselves, really. Sometimes it's a nice view, and then sometimes they can be pretty rude about themselves or an individual. So it's the fact that they are organized. And the last principle, of course, is self-concept is dynamic. New situations and circumstances can change how you think about yourself. Within the self-concept theory, it's an evolution. Okay, it's an evolution. And of course, the discussion question number 3: how does a student's self-concept affect how well they perform in the classroom, and how can teachers promote a student's self-concept? All right. Of course, you guys do not have to do this, but I always have some form of assignment after I lecture, of course. And I use interactive notebooks within my classroom, so hence why the activity that I'm going to introduce will be, it's going to be a foldable. It's a foldable summary book. It's going to look something like this, okay? It's going to look something just like this. You're going to create the foldable book with paper provided, of course, okay? And label each tab. You're going to label each tab right here with the actual theory. And then individually write a brief summary for each theory, okay? And of course, some people are not very creative, I understand that, but at the same time, as teachers, we're always here to help, and I always provide examples for my students, hence why I showed you guys this. But at the same time, I showed a little visual, it's on YouTube, where it kind of teaches them how to actually fold the actual paper in the way that I presented it right here. I hope you guys liked my presentation. I'm looking forward to watching everybody else's presentations, and thank you.